Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to pull out the key insights from a whole stack of sources just for you. Today, we're doing something a bit different, taking a deep dive into peak performance, looking at one of the absolute greats, Lewis Hamilton. The seven-time Formula One world champion, tied with Schumacher, just incredible. So the big question is, what actually makes a champion tick? And we're exploring this today through, well, let's say an unconventional lens provided by our source material. We're looking at Lewis Hamilton's astrological chart. Yeah, I know, it sounds different, right? But our run here is to see what these sources suggest, what kind of traits they point to that might, just might, align with his unbelievable success in F1. So get ready. We're going to see how maybe some abstract ideas can shed light on some very real skills. Okay, let's dive in. The sources start with the basics of his chart. Lewis Hamilton, he's a Capricorn, and he has a full moon in Cancer. But what the sources jump on pretty quickly is a key placement. His sun. It's in the third house. Now, maybe you can help us out here for listeners not super familiar with astrology. What are these houses? And what's the deal with the third one specifically?
Right. So imagine the sky at the moment of birth divided into 12 segments. Those are the houses. Each one represents a different area of life. Identity, money, communication, home, career, all that stuff. And the third house, well, that's the interesting part here, according to the sources. It's directly linked to communication, short trips, learning, and crucially, transportation. Cars, specifically, often fall under this house.
Cars.
Yeah. So having his sun, the sun representing like his core self, his vitality, his purpose, the sources see an immediate kind of striking connection to what he does for a living.
Wow. Okay. So right off the bat, a link to cars and transport. That's pretty direct.
It is. It's a connection the sources really emphasize as foundational.
But, being connected to cars isn't quite enough in F1, is it? You need speed. You need control. So the sources then point to Jupiter. It's also in his third house. And it's in Capricorn. And then it gets a little more layered because this Jupiter is apparently ruled by Saturn. And Saturn's over in Scorpio in his first house. That sounds complicated. Can you kind of unpack that for us? What are the sources saying this combination means for his driving or his approach?
Yeah, it does sound like a bit of a puzzle, but it paints a really interesting picture according to the analysis. You've got Jupiter, which tends to expand things, make them bigger, more abundant, in the house of cars. So think speed, maybe even excess. But it's in Capricorn, a sign known for discipline and structure. And it's ruled by Saturn, the planet of limitation, discipline, control, which is in Scorpio, a very focused, intense sign sitting in the first house of self.
Okay, so Jupiter wants to go big and fast, but Saturn is pulling the reins.
Exactly. The sources interpret this as disciplined excess. It's not just speed for speed's sake. It suggests an ability to push limits, maybe even enjoy the excess of speed, but with this powerful, innate sense of control and structure.
Disciplined excess. I like that.
Think about F1 driving, right? You need that absolute edge pushing right to the limit. But lose control, game over. This astrological setup, as interpreted, kind of mirrors that need for controlled power. Strategic speed, maybe.
That makes a lot of sense for a top driver. Okay, so we have this foundation of controlled speed. But what about reaction time? Pure quickness, that's got to be vital. And here, the sources bring in Mars and Uranus. Mars is in Pisces, fifth house. And it's squaring Uranus and Sagittarius in the second house. First, what's a square mean, generally?
Right.
And then what about Mars and Uranus themselves in this context?
Okay, a square in astrology usually points to tension, dynamic energy, a challenge that needs action, often quick action. It can be a real driving force.
Right. Tension needing release.
Exactly. And the planets involved? Mars and Uranus. Both are linked to quickness, even impatience. Mars is raw energy, action, drive. Uranus is suddenness, electricity, unexpected bursts, quick changes.
So planets of speed and action and a tense aspect.
Precisely. And then there's another layer the sources highlight, because Scorpio is his rising sign, or ascendant.
Which is like his public persona, how he meets the world.
Yeah, kind of his operating system, you could say. Because Scorpio is rising, Mars becomes his chart ruler. It's a really significant planet for him personally. And guess what rules that Mars?
Let me guess. Jupiter, back in the third house.
You got it. Jupiter in the house of cars. So the sources trace this chain. His core way of operating, Mars, is naturally quick and action-oriented, Mars-Uranus square, and it's ultimately directed or influenced by Jupiter, sitting right there in the zone related to vehicles.
Wow. Okay, so it's like his personal drive is inherently fast,
Yeah.
and it's channeled towards driving.
That's the interpretation, yeah. It suggests an innate wiring for incredibly rapid processing and reaction, especially when he's behind the wheel. Think about those split-second decisions F1 drivers make.
Absolutely critical. And speaking of quick thinking, the sources also mention Mercury, planet of communication, thought processes. And often transport too, right?
Correct. And his Mercury is in Sagittarius.
Sagittarius.
Mm.
Another sign linked to speed, maybe? Expansion.
It can be, yeah. It's a mutable fire sign, adaptable, loves freedom, can be quick. And crucially, guess who rules Sagittarius?
Don't tell me. Jupiter again.
Jupiter again, back in the third house. It keeps coming back to that placement.
It really does.
So Mercury, the planet of thinking and reaction speed, is in a quick, adaptable sign, Sagittarius, and it's co-present in the same sign as Uranus, planet of suddenness. The sources argue this combination really boosts that capacity for a very quick reaction time, a mind that can just instantly process and adapt, vital for F1.
Okay, this is quite a detailed picture emerging from the chart, according to these sources. So if we try and synthesize all this, the Sun, Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, Uranus, Mercury, what's the overall take? What kind of person, what kind of driver does this chart describe?
Well, pulling it all together, the summary from the sources is pretty consistent. They paint a picture of someone fundamentally oriented towards being quick. We saw that with Mars, Uranus, Mercury, and also highly competitive. Mars energy, plus the drive indicated by some of these placements. But, and this is key, it's not just quickness and competitiveness. It's underpinned by serious discipline. Remember Saturn, an intense, focused Scorpio, right in the first house of self. That points strongly toward discipline, control, resilience, a very concentrated energy.
So quick, competitive, but also highly disciplined and focused.
Exactly. It's that blend, that combination that the sources find so compelling and potentially aligned with his success. A mix of raw talent or innate tendency and rigorous control.
It really is fascinating, isn't it? How you can look at something like an astrological chart, this ancient system, and find interpretations that seem to resonate, that offer these, well, surprising insights into someone's path, especially someone operating at such an elite level.
Yeah, it offers a different kind of perspective on the ingredients that might go into mastery.
So wrapping up our deep dive today on Lewis Hamilton's chart, it definitely gives us a unique viewpoint. The sources suggest this potential alignment of traits, discipline, speed, lightning reactions, that deep competitive fire may be reflected in these astrological patterns, which leaves us with a pretty big question, really, one for you to think about. How much of who we are, what we excel at, are unique strengths? How much is innate, maybe even hinted at in systems like this? And how much is purely down to hard work, dedication, discipline, the hours put in? It's probably a mix, right? But where does that balance lie? Something to ponder next time you witness an incredible performance on the track or anywhere else.